Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're jumping straight into a piece of history that honestly just completely blew my mind. We're looking at a fascinating connection between the sheer, massive scale of a medieval military garrison and, believe it or not, the modern currency sitting in your wallet right now. It's a story packed with incredible ambition, sheer ruthlessness, and some seriously visionary administration.
So let's dive into the monument and the mastermind, Sher Shah Suri and Rohtas Fort. We're going to look at how one man, in just a handful of years, managed to conquer an empire, utterly terrify his enemies, and leave an architectural and economic legacy that's still very much alive today.
Section 1. The Giant of Jhelum. Let's start our journey right at the walls of Rohtas Fort. Situated near Jhelum in present-day Pakistan, this place wasn't just your average fort. It was a sprawling, 171-acre military behemoth. And to really wrap your head around the sheer scale of this project, just look at these numbers. It cost an unbelievable 3,425,000 rupees to build. And it required an army of 300,000 laborers working day and night over several years, literally just to haul the stones. It was an absolute mammoth of a construction site.
Now, the crucial thing to remember here is that this was absolutely not meant to be some luxurious palace for a king to kick back and relax in. Not at all. It was a rugged, highly strategic choke point. The founder had just driven the mighty Mughal emperor Humayun entirely out of India, so he needed a massive garrison to lock down the region, crush the rebellious local Gahar tribes, and basically ensure the Mughals could never, ever return.
Section 2. Rise of the Tiger Slayer. So who exactly was the man capable of commanding 300,000 workers to carve a fortress out of solid rock?
Well, his story actually starts surprisingly humbly. Born Farid al-Din Khan, he spent years just managing his father's estates and really learning the nuts and bolts of administration. But everything changed when he was serving the governor of Bihar. Out of nowhere, a tiger leaped right at the governor. Farid, without hesitating, struck the beast down and saved his patron's life. And for that incredible courage, he earned the legendary title Sher Khan, the Tiger Slayer.
And his reputation for extreme boldness only grew from there. At one point, while spending time in the Mughal camp to study their military tactics, Sher Khan was at a banquet and was served a dish he didn't quite know how to eat. Now, instead of asking for help, he simply drew his own dagger, confidently chopped the food into pieces, and devoured it. The Mughal Emperor Babur actually watched this raw display of Afghan pragmatism and delivered a chilling warning to his ministers to keep an eye on him. Babur knew instantly that this was a man with the marks of royalty on his forehead.
Section 3. Engineering an impenetrable fortress. Let's explore this engineering marvel and see exactly how Shah Khan's ruthless brilliance translated into solid rock.
His obsession with security was absolute. The primary defensive wall alone stretches for over 4 kilometers. It's constructed from these massive ashlar stones pieced together with lime. Hauling these giant blocks up such steep elevations was a task so incredibly daunting that it actually baffled the later engineers who came to study it.
The fort was heavily weaponized from top to bottom. It featured 12 massive gates, including the famous Kabuli and Langar Kawani gates, 68 heavy bastions for artillery, and a staggering 8,556 stairs woven directly into the walls, so soldiers could move rapidly during an attack. And if anyone was foolish enough to try and scale those walls, the defenders had magicalations, special openings specifically designed for pouring molten lead and boiling water directly onto the attackers below. Talk about a warm welcome, right?
Now let's look at the Baolis, or stepwells. Supplying water to a garrison on a rocky hill was a massive challenge. Just try to mentally walk down those 138 steep stone steps deep underground. Now imagine being a soldier having to fill large leather bags with fresh water and then hauling them, weighing 1.5 to 2 mons, which is well over 50 kilograms, all the way back up to the surface. And doing that multiple times a day just to keep the garrison alive. Exhausting doesn't even begin to cover it. Section 4. Life, Death, and Dal. Let's look inside the garrison to get a feel for the gritty, day-to-day reality of maintaining an army of 300,000 workers.
To feed all those laborers, gigantic vats of dal were cooked every single day. The logistical skill was just so massive that the cooks went through 1.25 mons, about 50 kilograms, of pure hing, or asafoetida, daily, just to flavor the meals. Imagine the intense smell of that kitchen. Honestly, it was probably enough to clear a battlefield all on its own.
Life inside the fort was this incredible study in extreme contrasts. On one hand, you had the horrific Fanzi Ghat, This was a brutal execution yard where captured enemies were hanged and their bodies were intentionally left out for vultures as a terrifying warning. But then, right alongside that brutality, you had deeply spiritual Sufi saints living at the construction site. They offered water and comfort to the exhausted laborers. Today, their shrines still stand at the very gates they helped build, perfectly capturing the duality of Sher Shah's reign, brutal justice living right next to profound piety.
Section 5. The Emperor's Enduring Legacy. Zooming back out to the macro level, it becomes clear that the man who built this giant fortress didn't just understand war. He laid the foundational systems for the modern state.
Perhaps his most famous legacy is actually sitting right in your pocket right now. Sher Shah completely revolutionized the economy by replacing a pretty chaotic system of various metal weights with a standardized silver coin weighing exactly 178 grains. He called it the rupiah. It was such a brilliant, stable economic innovation that it became the direct precursor to the modern rupee, the currency used by nearly 2 billion people across South Asia today. Pretty wild to think about.
And he definitely didn't stop at coins and forts. He was an absolute master administrator. He extended the Grand Trunk Road, creating this massive artery of trade from Chittagong all the way to Kabul. He established a highly efficient horse relay postal system. He planted shade trees, built caravanserais or rest houses for travelers, and he abolished internal customs borders. Basically, he made the roads safe and brought unprecedented economic prosperity to his empire, massively boosting trade.
Section 6. An explosive end. But as with many great historical figures, the story of the Tiger Slayer ends almost as suddenly as it began.
When you actually look at this timeline of the meteoric Saur Empire, it's genuinely staggering. He decisively defeated the Mughals in Chausa in 1539. He was crowned Sultan of Hindustan in 1540. He laid the foundation for Rohtas Fort in 1541, and he died in 1545. He conquered an empire, built one of the greatest fortresses in history, and completely revolutionized an economy, all in just 5 short years at the helm. His life ended just as violently as he had lived it. During the 1545 siege of Kalanjar, a mortar bomb fired by his own troops hit the fort's wall, bounced backward, and landed directly into an Afghan gunpowder cache. The massive explosion left Sher Shah mortally wounded and severely burned. Yet, showing that legendary sheer will, he held on in his tent for 2 more days, just long enough to hear the news that his army had finally breached the fort and won the battle. Only then did he succumb to his injuries.
So it leaves us with a truly provocative thought to end on. If the Tiger Slayer, a man who spent decades as a simple estate manager, could step onto the throne and accomplish all of this, a legendary 4-kilometer fortress, a modern currency, a unified highway system, in a mere 5 years, what on earth could he have built if he had been given a lifetime? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the history around you.